Welcome back to the channel. It's a celebration. 100 subscribers. And I definitely put in the work for this video. I don't know why I thought I could do 3 dolls in 1 week when I can't even do 1 usually. It was a lot of sewing. It's like sewing boot camp. And I don't even like sewing. You know that about me? I hate sewing. It's so boring and repetitive. Embroidery is different because you're like painting with thread, so it's not as monotonous. Anyway, I can't wait to show you what I made. Let's get into it. Okay, here's my concept. I wanted to use little magnets for attaching the limbs to the torso so that you could take them off while you're getting her dressed, right? The beads are for mobility, obviously, because I can't get over ball jointed dolls. Turning my tracing light table on, I'm going to use these cardstock pieces to do 1 set of leg, 1 set of arm, and then the torso and head, so that all of the pieces will be as similar as possible, and then I don't have to cut them out of this piece of the main design. Instead, I just cut out these cardstock and use those to cut out the fabric. So for extra posability and to make a frame, I'm going to use pipe cleaners as the skeleton for these pieces of skin sack. This is my first rough estimate of the kind of bones I'm gonna need inside of these dolls. I do end up modifying these as we go along. This is all a learning process for me. All right, now that the templates are cut out, let's get them on some skin colored fabric. I'm going to use this pinkish one for my palest doll. And I'm going to start with the hands because I'm obsessed with making these little hands. They were the most difficult thing to make in this entire project, especially these first ones, because the sewing just left a lot to be desired. But I do love the idea of little movable fingers. How cute is that? Just wait and you'll see. So, as you know, I hate sewing. To trick myself into thinking that we're doing embroidery, I used embroidery needles and embroidery thread and tried to make the stitching as precise as possible. I didn't mention in the intro, but because of these hands, there are 6 of them. It took me 3 weeks, actually, to finish these dolls. 3 whole weeks, and these hands are one of the reasons. After the threading was done, I was excited. The hardest part was done, the most boring and annoying part. Boy, was I wrong. The way that I sewed these fingers made it impossible to turn this thing out, and it took
forever.
After literal hours of messing with it, we finally have some fingies. Now all I have to do is put the skeleton in. Pretty easy, right? Nope, the wrist was too small and the fingers were just bending into a lump.
How was I going to get this skeleton in here?
I'm just gonna have to cut it open.
All my delicate sewing for nothing. Okay, in all honesty, this was the first thing I sewed, so it wasn't that big of a deal that I had to cut this piece to put this skeleton in, and now I have little fingies that can bend. How cute is this? I am obsessed. I absolutely love it. Let's make 1,000 more. Super fast arms. These are our colors. No, they don't have skeletons in them yet. Patience. I quickly cut them out. I will sew them over the course of
5 years.
Hands did end up getting bigger with each new template. We're not gonna worry about those hands anymore. We're putting that trauma behind us. We are switching now to the torso. This is going to be like the collarbone area where we're going to attach our first magnets for the arms. I had no idea what I was doing with this, obviously. It's the first time I've ever done this. So I was hoping these magnets would be strong enough to attach through the fabric because that's where it's going. The second set of magnets were for the legs, and since I didn't have these skeletons in the torso or any legs made yet, I wasn't entirely sure where to put these. I really should have put them up all the way to those corners of the hips. Got our corresponding magnets in the upper thighs.
An obligatory burning from the hot glue gun.
Once those magnets are secured, we can slide them right inside these skin sacks. And yes, I'm going to keep saying that because it's as disturbing to me as it is to you. But that's what these are. These are the sacks for the skin. But I needed to make sure that they lined up according to how I shaped them. So there's kind of a curve to the bottom of the thigh, and if I put the magnet in wrong, it's not going to attach and look correct. Putting the torso skeleton in, I've never made a skeleton like this before, and I was hoping it would work, and I think it works pretty well, right? Looks like a torso. And yes, in case you were wondering,
Nobody.
I am stuffing this torso with some fluff and the legs to give it more of a filling out, not just a skeleton with loose skin type of look. So after I had that sewn up and ready to go, I realized I needed a magnet for the head, and it turns out that the glue gun can make a perfect circle to fit the magnet in if you use it to melt the styrofoam. Probably bad for the environment. Nobody saw it. There was a lot of checking, because what would happen if I put the magnets in upside down? No head. Oh my gosh, we're getting closer. This is starting to look like a doll. I put the beads inside for the elbows and the knees. I kept them inside the fabric instead of having them out, but I still have the thread out, so that helps with mobility. So these dolls have pretty tiny heads, and I had this idea of using this Mod Podge 3-dimensional effect to make their eyeballs, right? I wanted to make them look 3D and glossy. So with the hole punch, I punched out a bunch of holes from the cardstock that was left over from drawing the templates. I used alcohol marker for the irises, and I used a Posca for the shine. And I drew those on this flat surface, hoping that once I put this 3-dimensional stuff on, it was gonna dry like in a dome, right? And make it look like eyes. Unfortunately, the 3D stuff didn't work very well. It kind of collapsed in. I mean, it doesn't look that bad, but it wasn't great. So I took those eyes and used some embroidery thread to make the eyelids. It's not great. Don't know how I feel about these eyelashes either. They're kind of weird and spidery, but I don't stick with this. I tried something else. Looking back at my first attempt on this one's face, I think it was actually cuter than how it turns out. So we tried it again. I used the same cardstock and the same alcohol markers, but instead of using the 3D magic, I used these glass half globes that I saw on Amazon and had been thinking about using in the first place, but wanted to try the 3D magic anyway. Get ready for a jump scare. This is what they look like on the doll. She doesn't have a nose or mouth yet, so she's very scary, I know, but they look kind of pretty, right? So now that the eyes are the right shape, I had to give them some eyelids by folding some of the skin-colored fabric to make these top and bottom lids, and then we need lashes. Something more full, so I wanted to stick with some felt to make them thick. So all of our dolls now have eyes, and they all look really mad at me. I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry I gave you eyes, I guess. Will you feel better if I give you noses? I've got these really soft beads. I cut these squishy beads in half, and then I'm just gonna use my fingernails as like guidelines to where I want to carve out the little nostrils on either side. I should really be using an X-Acto knife, but I've got these tiny scissors here, so obviously I'm lazy and I'm gonna use these. Needs a little more work, but we're getting the right shape. Since I decided those first lips that I had made out of embroidery were way too big, I decided to stick with my felt and make some lips for these dolls, just with a very thin piece for the top and the bottom.
Yes, I know there are hot glue webs everywhere.
I think they look a little less mad with lips and noses. Time to breathe a little life into this flesh. Of course, originally I was thinking about blushing these dolls with pastels, like you would do a doll, but I liked the way these alcohol markers looked on this fabric, and so I gave it a go. Why not? We're just going to blush this palest one. I do blush all of the other ones off camera, but this is the only one you can see really well, so you can see where I put the blushing. Not entirely sure why. I guess because you couldn't see the bottom lip, I decided to blush that too. Finally, we're getting into some color. So this is gonna be my darkest girl's hair. I really liked this light lavender. I gave her light lavender eyebrows out of felt, of course. And I have this braid made out of wool, felting wool, and that's why I have to kind of swirl it up because otherwise it'll come apart eventually. For the side, like shaved pieces, I used some felt and then I just used a needle to kind of fluff it up a little bit. I love it. K-pop inspired, of course. hair and body combined.
And I just love how freaking sassy these eyes make these girls.
She looks cute just like this. I could leave her. Palest Girl is also getting roving wool for hair. I want her to look kind of albino, I think. We're just gonna use white. I go back and forth on whether I like this or not. Does it make her look old? With some embroidery thread, I am securing the wool to her scalp by giving her a little part. She does have some hot glue on the insides to keep her hair down, but I thought that she needed something that looked like an actual hair part. With her part secured, we now need to give her a haircut, but her bottom is gonna skew the straightness of the bottom of her hair. So I apologize in advance, lady, but we're gonna have to put these over here. Putting these up and making this strange posture, I completely forgot that I could just take the legs off because they are just applied with magnets. I think I forgot about that so many times because who has that? I looked it up. No one's made a magnetic arm and legged doll, which they should be so that you can put clothes on easier, but what can you do? Maybe I'll bring it to Shark Tank. No, I won't. I'm never making these again. Hair is cut. I'm gonna have to bind it somehow so it doesn't get shredded just by existing. Oh yeah, the legs are a magnet. I just remembered. On to the hair of the very last doll. She's my favorite. I love this hairstyle. I decided to do short and wild. So since I wasn't planning on binding it, I had to use something that would hold up a little bit better than roving wool. So I'm using this really bright acrylic yarn. And I glue it on with hot glue and then separate it piece by piece to make it look more like hair. She looks so freaking cute. I absolutely adore her. And I have her name now. I will tell you all of their names at the end, but hers is the best, of course. Simultaneously, I was so excited to dress them and design their clothes, but I also didn't want to sew one more dang thing. So I found these little socks. What are they called? Ankled socks, I guess. And they made perfect hoodies for these dolls. Like what? Yes, perfect. I just cut some armholes, cut the bottom off, and put the ankle part on their heads, and it made cute little hoodies. Her hair, of course, is getting destroyed though. Let's keep that down for now. In addition to sock hoodies, I also used the end of a t-shirt to make them all little pairs of socks. If you fold one side, you only have to sew the other side.
And the top is already hemmed.
Sewing cheat code unlocked.
Possibly my most favorite thing I made in this episode is the shoes. I made sneakers from scratch, guys. How do you do it? Well, I'll tell you. You make a base the shape of the foot, preferably a little bit larger, which I had to learn the hard way. Luckily, my feet bend. The toe piece is kind of shaped like an arrow, except for it's rounded. There's some finished shoes right there in the top left-hand corner. They're the beige ones that I haven't added anything to yet. Anyway, glue this on just like this. This is going to be the toe part. I did one side at a time, made it easier to keep it down while it was drying. And then around the back, you just hot glue on the heel wall. It's kind of like a long rectangle, but you just curve the top edges so that it kind of glides right into the bottom part of the shoe. I did one side at a time again, of course, and it looks just like that. Let's glue it a little better. There we go. That's just the beginning though. We're gonna add more stuff. Next thing we need to make a set of cool kicks is some rubber soles, of course. I found some foam in my crafting stuff that I've never used and never had any ideas for, and this is perfect. With my Target brand paint pen, I'm gonna put some fake silver eye holes for the laces, of course. The bottom of the soles are done and the sides have all been wrapped. I did add a lot of little extras off camera, the little logos, the little back line, whatever that thing is, I guess to help you get your shoe on, and I'm also gonna put padding on the back. All that's left is to lace them up with some embroidery thread for laces. Tiny finished sneakers. I really like how they came out. The colors are cool. There's a cat booty in the background. Don't mind it. I love how the soles are and that they're all different and cute. Sorry I couldn't share the short making process with you. I guess the camera wasn't turned on, but this is how the legs come off to put on the shorts. And now we get to look at the final girls. 3 dolls with their own little attitudes, their own shoes, their own shorts. I can't really see the middle one's shorts, but you'll see it when I sit them up. Look at these sneakers. Everything looks fresh and cute now, as long as the dog doesn't touch it. I really think they're all cute, but the middle one, of course, is my favorite. I love her hair. What are their names? First off, let me address these shoelaces. No, I didn't want to tie them. I liked the way they looked hanging down like this. It's a vibe, okay? Anyway, these two are Siggy and So Chill. It sounds like so chill. Isn't that cute? I love it. And this dark goddess with all the bright colors is named Nia. What do you guys think? Does it look okay? She looks like she has bags under her eyes. It depends on what you're doing, how their faces look, and these fingers are still my favorite part. Look at these fingers, they bend. Maybe I can make them hold hands? No, that's hard to do while I'm holding the camera. Close enough. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was enough work for the 100 subscribers episode. I know it's not that big of a deal to some people, but I didn't think that we were gonna get there. Wasn't planning on it, just doing this for fun. Tell me what you think. Who's your favorite? Thanks for watching. See you next time.